Hello and welcome to today's episode of Tax Matters. I am Pearl Namaka and with me is
Chiamaka Ohaochi.
Let's begin with sharing news, and that's talking about the feats being achieved by the FIRS in the area of tax collection. On the sidelines of the 142nd meeting of the Joint Tax Board held in Bauchi at the end of November 2018, Tax Matters spoke to Mr. Babatunde Fowler, and among other things, he quite happily announced that the FIRS, as at that point in time, had generated 4.7 trillion naira in federally collected taxes. And as to be expected, he expressed hope that they would achieve 5 trillion naira by year end.
But you know the way these things go. Even before some of our viewers could see the story, the FIRS had hit the 5 trillion naira mark ahead of time. At another J2B event held in Abuja on the 12th of December, Mr. Fowler announced that tax collection had hit 5 trillion naira, 19 days to the end of the year. We took that matter up at yet another event in Lagos.
So 2 weeks ago in Bauchi, we spoke to you and you were celebrating 4.7 trillion by the FIRS. I'm sure you've shifted the goalposts.
So what's the new target?
Well, based on what we have achieved so far, we've already hit 5 trillion and we still have 2 weeks to go. And revenue usually comes towards the end of the month. So certainly it shouldn't be anything less than 5.3 trillion.
We congratulate Mr. Fowler and indeed the entire FIRS team.
Welcome once again. Today we are going to revisit the matter of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. The TAT was established pursuant to Section 59, subsection 1 of the 5th Schedule to the FIRS Establishment Act 2007. In line with that law and as part of the general reforms of the Nigerian tax system, the TAT took off formally on the 1st of February 2010. Established in 8 zones across the country, the first set of the zonal tribunals sat for 6 years made up of 2 terms of 3 years each. However, at the expiry of the 2 terms of the inaugural tribunals, new tribunals were not constituted to replace them due to unforeseen circumstances.
On Wednesday, 12th December 2018, the Northwest Zone of the TAT hosted a stakeholders forum in Kaduna. The previous day, on Tuesday, 11 December 2018, the chairman and commissioners of the TAT paid a courtesy call on the state governor, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, at Government House, Kaduna.
The Stakeholders Forum was graced by the attendance of His Excellency Malam Nasir El-Rufai, who was accompanied to the occasion by a powerful team of his commissioners and special advisors. In his brief remarks at the beginning of the event, Chairman Northwest Zone of the TAT, Barrister Omar Adamu, reiterated the mandate of the TAT.
The Tax Appeal Tribunal primarily is constituted by a legislation under Section 59 of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act of 2007. Its main purpose is to adjudicate matters arising from disputes in respect of some legislations. These legislations include the personal income tax, the company's income tax, the profit gains tax, the stamp duties tax, and the petroleum tax.
Declaring the event open, Malam Nasir El-Rufai pledged the support of the Kaduna state government to the TAT.
We want to express our gratitude to the federal government of Nigeria for establishing the Tax Appeal Tribunal for this zone. We've been waiting for the constitution of this tribunal since 2016, and we're happy it has come to stay because we have several appeals, mostly against alleged defaulters of the payment of tax, particularly federal government agencies in the state that were hoping and waiting for this Tax Appeal Tribunal to be constituted. We are honored that the Northwest Tribunal is located in Kaduna State, and we wish to assure you, Mr. Chairman and Honorable Commissioners, that the government of this state will do whatever it can to support you and make your job as easy as possible.
To kickstart the stakeholders forum, a presentation was made by Professor Kabir Dandago, Honorable Commissioner TAT Northwest Zone.
As the chairman mentioned, the tribunal was reconstituted about a month ago after about 2 or more years of inaction. And at the point of the inauguration, the government made it very clear that to make the tax system to be very friendly, to be very efficient as a means of generating revenue for ensuring sustainable economic development, both tax authorities and taxpayers need to have very good understanding. And then they have to have a platform where all the complaints of wrong assessment or wrong treatment from the tax authorities or complaint of default on the payment of taxes, levies, charges from the tax authority against the taxpayers will be adjudicated. And that is what the Tax Appeal Tribunal is all out to do. Ours is to ensure fairness, to ensure justice, as we treat cases that may be brought about by any of the two parties.
The foundation for the discussion having been laid, the floor was opened for questions, comments, and observations.
I've been in Kaduna for the last 26 years, and I've been a taxpayer. This is my card. For the last 26 years, not until my retirement, I've been paying my tax. But I want to tell you the truth. I think virtually everybody here, if he will be chance to talk, he will tell you he must have had 1 or 2 terrible experiences with the tax authorities.
This forum should know that 90% of all businesses who have closed down and will be closing down in Kaduna is on account of unnecessary tax burden.
It is clear that the Establishment Act of the Tax Appeal Tribunal and that order created this Tax Appeal Tribunal, even though it has been established in the Federal Inland Revenue Service Act. Now, the Kaduna State Internal Revenue Service, Codification and Consolidation Law, also established what we call Tax Appeal Committee. There's a cross jurisdiction here. We are saying that there's a lot on the table of Tax Appeal Tribunal to adjudicate over fairly. And then you are carrying another overload.
On the allegations of high-handedness on the part of some tax officials, some of them responded this way.
I want to say this, that taxes are based on earned revenue, earned income. So there's no how tax can run down your company. Secondly, sir, taxation is not arbitrary. A tax administrator will not just come and give you a bill, say you pay. No. Taxation is governed by law. It's governed by statute. And where a tax administrator goes outside the statute, you have a redress. And that's why we have the tribunal and other avenue of redress that we have.
My colleague there would address certain areas, but the particular area I want to talk about was the comment made by Haji Mahdi that when a tax officer comes into your premises, he can do whatever he likes. What I want to say at this junction is that once a person acts outside the provision of the law, he is not protected by the law. However, the FRS Act grants the tax officer the right to enter a premises. He does not force his way into the premises unless and except he is forcibly obstructed from gaining entrance. Then he can work with the law enforcement agency. He doesn't do that alone, and then gain entrance into your premises. He requests, and this is something we should also, since we are speaking the truth here, very often when our officers enter premises and request of the taxpayer to make the relevant documents available, they don't. They don't agree to make these documents available. And when you do not do that, the law allows us to go in there with the enforcement agency and obtain. The word is obtain. He's not asking you at that point and obtain these documents. At what point do we do this? If you have filed your documents, filed your papers, as and at when due, nobody is going to come to your premises to ask you to gain entrance to that premises. Have you filed? Have we filed? If we are being honest here, how many companies file within time? How many of us here filed as at when due? Talking of BOJ, we call it administrative assessment. If you have filed as at when due, you will not be served with an administrative assessment. And the law gives you time within to object. I am in the legal department. Very often when people come to us, when we now do the demand letters, what happens is this. You are sent with an administrative assessment. Oh, these tax people, they are doing their usual thing, nothing will happen. And when you take it, nothing will happen. 30 days will lapse. Once 30 days lapse, then we can go after you. So I think we also need to change our attitude and our culture. I'm not exonerating FIRS. I'm not saying we are perfect. No institution is. If we are to apply the law as the law, I don't know what the people would say. If we apply it as the law, because very often after the 30 days, and it is referred to the legal department, and most tax offices wait until 2-3 months before they refer. We still give 14 days, and you find that the taxpayer does not come to pay, and they do not object. So if you place yourself in this position, then you are making yourself open to the unscrupulous tax officer. It is only then that he can extort you, he can blackmail you. If you don't have skeletons in your cupboard, nobody can blackmail you.
There was further clarification.
The tax laws in this country are fair, reasonably fair to a taxpayer. A taxpayer is given 6 months, especially on the side of the company income tax, 6 months after the closure of a business, to prepare his own return by himself and by his, together with his external auditor, independent of FRS. That is what we call self-assessment regime. The law is so fair. It empowers the taxpayer to self-assess himself. And it gave him 6 months in which to do so. Where a taxpayer failed to comply with the prohibition of this law, the law says the tax office shall, to its best of judgment, assess that taxpayer to tax. And the law says the taxpayer has 30 days from the date of submission or from the date of service of that assessment to object and pay the taxes and file the returns. If the taxpayer fell again, the law says there should be a demand. A demand notice is served on the taxpayer, and that demand notice gave the taxpayer another 30 days from the date of service in which to come forward, file the returns, and pay the taxes.
The TAT commissioners also had the floor.
It is important to know that both the taxpayer and the tax authority have recourse to the tribunal. You as the taxpayer, it is important that you acquaint yourself with the tax laws. Because if you don't know the tax laws, then you may not even look at the assessment to see whether the assessment they have given you is in line with the law. If the assessment is okay, then you have no alternative but to pay.
This tribunal is set out as a friendly forum for people, or less casual, less formal forum, so that people can come and bring their issues here. Now we have the regular court system, which of course we know appeals go from the Tax Appeal Tribunal to the Federal High Court, and from Federal High Court to the Court of Appeal, and up to the Supreme Court. So you start here. It is advisable that you start here at the Tax Appeal Tribunal. Where you're not happy with the decision of this tribunal, then it is okay for you to go on and appeal to the Federal High Court. And from there, if you're still not satisfied, you go to the Court of Appeal and up to the Supreme Court. You're allowed to represent yourself before us. That is why their rules and regulations are more lax than the formal court system. So as an individual, you can walk up to the tribunal and lodge your complaint, and you'll be guided on how to go about it. But it's less formal, it's friendly, and it's not strictly guided by the rules of court.
And this piece of advice?
I think the major issue is taxpayer education. Most of the taxpayers are not really versed in the tax laws. You don't need to know all the tax laws. You just need to know the laws that affect you as an individual or as a company. The Tax Appeal Tribunal actually has the powers to attend to state taxpayers, as Mr. Abdurrahman was asking. When they give you an assessment, you review the assessment. If it's in line with what you have submitted, you go ahead and pay. If not, you have the right to object. You have the right to object. And once you object, you have to give your grounds for the objection, why you are objecting. The tax authorities will look into it. It's either they accept your objection or they refuse to accept the objection. And if they refuse, they will give you notice that they cannot accept your objection.
Mr. Moses Ideho is the Zonal Secretary of the TAT Northwest Zone.
You must understand as taxpayers, if you are aggrieved, whatever the grievance is, even if you feel your name was not properly spelled, challenge it. Come before the tribunal. And let it be the tribunal who will tell you, you came too quick, or you should have waited for this or that. So the onus falls on you to make use of the avenue provided by law and by the federal government to vent your grievances.
Barrister Umar Adamu is the chairman of the Northwest Zonal Tribunal of the TAT.
Number one, let me say categorically before I make this statement that yes, we are appointed by the federal government, but I want to assure you that while taking decisions and while making our awards, God in heaven knows that we don't look at the faces of the litigants. Our eyes are blinded. So don't feel that because the federal government appointed us, I assure you that we are not going to ask any taxpayer, or rather we are not going to allow any tax authority to assess anybody with a kobo more. But when you are brought before us, we are not going to let you pay a kobo less.
Tax Matters spoke to the Secretary of the Zonal Tribunal for an update on the activities of the Zonal Tribunal.
What is the jurisdiction of the Kaduna Zonal Tribunal?
When talking of jurisdiction, there are two. There is territorial jurisdiction, and then there's the subject matter jurisdiction. You understand? Now, with respect to our territorial jurisdiction, we cover the 7 states in the Northwest. That would be Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Jigawa. So we cover those 7 states. So tax disputes coming from those 7 states are covered by this tribunal. Now, with respect to subject jurisdiction, first of all, the Tax Appeal Tribunal is an issue-specific court. You understand? We deal only with taxes. You understand? That would be all taxes that are listed in the approved list for collection. Do you understand me? That is taxes that are collected by the federal government, which would include your company income tax, your petroleum profits tax, your capital gains, and then your state taxes, down to even the taxes covered by local governments.
Who are the current members of the zonal tribunal?
Well, the panel, as presently constituted, has Umar Mohammed Adamu, who is a lawyer by training. He's the current chairman of the tribunal. There's Abubakar Gwandu, Samira, Mrs., also a member of this tribunal. Then there's Kabir Umar Dandago. Then there's Dr. Ahmed Kumshe. And then there's Mohammed A.S. Bayiru, who is the fifth member of the panel. The panel consists of 5 members.
When did you commence sitting?
Well, we actually commenced sitting, if you want to put it that way, in 2010, when this tribunal was actually initially constituted. The first panel ran for 6 years, which they did with respect to the Northwest Zone. We rounded up on the 3rd of June 2016. Now it was recently, the panels were recently reconstituted on the 5th of November by the Honorable Minister of Finance. This is the second panel that has been reconstituted since the commencement of business of the Tax Appeal Tribunal.
I can't believe this. Last year I let it go. This year my tax assessment is even worse. They keep doing this because they know there is no one we can complain to.
But there is.
Really?
Yes. You can go to the Tax Appeal Tribunal.
Tax Appeal Tribunal?
Yes.
The Tax Appeal Tribunal is established to resolve all tax disputes between taxpayers and the Revenue Authority. So when your tax disputes are not resolved to your satisfaction, the Tax Appeal Tribunal is there to help. You can visit any of our offices nationwide or call email info@tat.gov.ng for support. Tax Appeal Tribunal, building confidence in Nigeria's tax system.
The full interview with Mr. Ideho will come to you on Tax Matters very soon.
We're coasting home. The week of Wednesday, 12th December was quite a busy one for us. The Joint Tax Board, now you know what the JTB is, organized an induction ceremony for new members who joined the board at various times in the last 2 years.
Everyone who has been a member of this Joint Tax Board has been through this induction ceremony, including myself. And we believe that it's an avenue and a venue where we can exchange ideas and make sure that with a common vision, with a common understanding, as we group together, we'll be able to build capacity within the Joint Tax Board. The Joint Tax Board was developed to ensure uniformity and also provide an avenue for an exchange of experiences and ideas in the area of revenue generation.
In the evening of the same day, a sent-forth dinner was organized in honor of retiring members of the board.
When we talk about a long service award, most people will believe that we're talking about a period of 25 or 30 years. Unfortunately, in the Joint Tax Board, our long service award is actually 5 years. And that gives you an indication of the dynamic nature of that position. And you'll find out that this evening, just a very few members will be recognized as passing the 5-year mark. But I think this is a challenge to us. The role that we play in the economy is very vital. You can have a leader with the best vision, but that vision that's not backed up by revenue remains a dream.
Fuller details of these events will come to you in a subsequent episode of Tax Matters. To the new members of the JTB, we say welcome on board. To the outgone ones, we say farewell.
To you, our viewers, we bid farewell, but just for only 1 week because we are sure to meet again next week. on the same platform, same station, same day of the week, same time of the day. Bye for now.